So I'm gonna carry on doing my films that I've watched series. However, as you can plainly see, I have not watched many films this year so far in 2023. I've really not been in a film mood in the last few months. I feel like literally the last couple of days I have. But yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk through the very, very few films on my list, and then I've also made a list of shows I've watched and podcasts I've listened to, because I feel like in the last few months I've definitely watched a lot of shows and listened to a lot of podcasts, and that explains why I've not watched many films. But anyway, so obviously December, January, I watched one film in January. This was in the cinema. It was called it was A Man Called Otto. This was not my pick. This was a friend's pick. It's really not my kind of film. I did really like it though. It was quite sad towards the end. I don't think I'll ever watch it again, but it was good. Solid 4-star. February. Another 3 films. So Green Mile is one of my all-time favourite films. If you've not seen it, you need to watch it. It is a commitment. It's I think the whole film is 3 hours, maybe a little bit over, I can't remember. But oh my god, so worth it. I love it. Next is The Whale, which I saw in the cinema. I was really happy that Brendan Fraser won the Oscar because he totally deserves it. And this was a pretty good film. The only thing I didn't like about the film is it's very, very obvious it was based from a play. I saw that in the credits. The entire film takes place in pretty much one room, this guy's flat, and it gets a bit boring after a while. Like, they could have thrown in a couple of flashback scenes or just something, but no, and that's the only gripe. But the performances of the cast were solid. Next is The Menu. I've seen that before. It's just a good film. And that's January and February. As you can see, in March, I watched more films. However, all but one of them was Scream films. So, as you can see, I first watched the new Scream film, Scream 6, in the cinema, and then I rewatched the other 5. I'm just going to talk about all the Scream films together. So the first Scream film is far and away my favourite. I love it. The second one I also really love. I don't know if I've said this before, but a fun fact. So I watched Scream 2 before Scream 1, and I watched Scream 2 when I was far too young to watch it. I think I must have been younger than a teenager. Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure I wanted the DVD, and my parents bought it for me, probably not realising that it was a horror film, but it was totally fine. I'm pretty hardy when it comes to horror films, even as a kid. So yeah, Scream 1 and 2 are my favourites. Scream 3 I've never been a fan of. I think it's nowhere near as good as the first 2. Scream 4 is pretty solid. Yeah, I don't mind Scream 4 at all. Scream 5 and Scream 6, however, I'm less of a fan of. They feel... Scream 5 and 6 feel too much. It gets to a point where they get a bit repetitive. Like the bit, when they kill the killer, and then the killer comes back to life, and then it's a jump scare, and then they shoot it. Like, that happens in every single bloody film. At this point, it'd be a surprise if they just stabbed them once and then the killer died. Also, I realised this in the cinema watching Scream 6, but also on rewatching Scream 5. I absolutely can't stand the older sister character. Is it Sam? Not Jenna Ortega, her older sister. Oh my god, I can't stand her character. They're trying too hard to make her into the new Sydney, and oh god, someone, like, if she's in the next film, just someone put a knife in her, honestly. I can't stand her. Jenna Ortega's character I really like. The others they had a bit more personality, but oh god, she's got no personality. And the whole, sorry, minor spoiler, the whole Billy Loomis is her father. She's talking to Billy Loomis, she's seeing his reflection, like, oh, no. Jesus Christ. So yeah, that's my little rant over. I feel like the only time I will ever rewatch Scream 5 or 6 is if I'm rewatching the whole series, like now. I think they are making a Scream 7, I'll watch that, but I'm not, especially if Sam's in it, I'm not expecting great things. The only other film I watched in March was Shazam! Fury of the Gods. This was my friend's pick again. I hadn't actually seen the first one. I'm not a huge superhero film fan, but I'll be honest, I quite enjoyed Shazam! I thought it was a pretty good watch. The only thing that confused me, I didn't realise that the main characters are kids and they become adults when they turn into superheroes. That really confused me when it first happened. I was like, whoa, where'd the kids go? But no, that's it. And then I might as well show you April's films. I've not watched many. I've actually watched another I've watched another film today. So first of all, on April Fool's Day, I watched the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, which I really enjoyed. It's really fun. I actually want to see it again. I might go and see it again on my own next week. That was really good. Last night, I watched 47 Meters Down. This was a random Netflix pick. I thought it was a bit meh. I'll be honest, when I put it on, I was not expecting great things. I didn't like it, and again, this is a spoiler for the film, just mute the next 10-15 seconds, but I really disliked the whole, oh, she was hallucinating all along, that kind of trope. I think it's a bit cheap. So yeah, I didn't like that. And then today, literally a couple of hours ago, I rewatched Midsommar. I've seen that before, and that's because of a podcast which I'll talk about more in a few minutes. So yeah, those are all the films I've watched so far in 2023. So I'm going to swipe, hopefully this works. There we go, and I have a list of shows and podcasts that I'll just talk about quickly. I don't want to spend loads of time on this. So, oh, by the way, I should say these are shows that are from before, like 2022 as well. It's not just from this year. So, Waterloo Road, this is a British show. It's set in a secondary school. Now, there's an original series. It ran for 10 series from like 2005 to 2015 or something like that. Excuse me. And then, so the original series ended in like 2015, and then earlier this year they revived it with new characters and everything. So I watched the revived series first, which it was very meh for me, but then that made me want to rewatch the old series, which I grew up with, and that was really nice rewatching it. However, I got to series 9, and then I think I watched one episode of series 10 and I just turned it right off. The last series, even I remember watching it on TV, it wasn't very good. Next is You Season 4, which I enjoyed. Someone tell me why they decided to split it into 2 seasons. I don't know, part 1, part 2, I don't get it, but I liked it. I really like how, so is there 10 episodes, or is there 8? I can't remember. Let's say there's 10 episodes, up to about episode 7 or 8, I can't remember which exactly. I was a bit like, but then last episodes, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, it got interesting. And so, yeah, I liked it overall. Next is The Last of Us, which I loved so much, and I was really excited about this because I've actually played the game. So I knew what was happening, and I knew the characters and everything, and I'm really excited about that. I've since replayed the game as well. I want to rewatch the series again as well because I've watched each episode once, and I want to binge watch all of them again. I'm also playing the second game, however, I do not own a PS4 or a PS5, so I'm playing it at a friend's house. So every time I go to my friends, I play for an hour or two. Yeah. Next, two mockumentary shows which I discovered and immediately fell in love with, and it was Kunk on Britain and Kunk on Earth. So Philomena Kunk is a character from is it a sketch show? I never watched it. Charlie Brooker's Weekly Wipe, I think. I've never seen it, but I know of the character. And then apparently a few years ago, in 2018 or 19, this character played by Diane Morgan, Philomena Kunk, did a documentary about Britain. And then either this year or the end of 2022, there was another show called Kunk on Earth. And like I said, it's a documentary, however, there's a comedic side to it, and I 100% recommend it. It's really funny in parts, and it's also really interesting. So if you want an easy watch that's also pretty funny, definitely check out the Kunk series. I'm pretty sure Kunk on Earth is on Netflix in most other countries. In the UK, they're both on iPlayer though. Excuse me. Next is Clarkson's Farm Series 2. I loved the original Clarkson's Farm. I know Jeremy Clarkson is quite a polarising man. Love him or hate him. I've always not minded him. He's done some things I don't agree, like the stuff he wrote about Meghan Markle was just, it was abhorrent, whether it was a joke or not. It just wasn't nice. However, you can't deny that he makes a good TV show, and Clarkson's Farm I find so interesting. It's almost educational, and I really enjoyed the second series too. I really hope they make a third series. Next is Happy Valley Season 3, and then I rewatched the first two series as well. Love it. It's a police drama, so if you're into police dramas, please go and watch this. Please, please, I beg you, you will love it. It's very gritty, very dark. It's not scary, but it gets intense in times, and it's so good. I really liked the third series. I thought it finished everything off really nicely. Then It's Not Material Series 3, which I had towards the end of last year. I've read all the books, and I'm a big fan of the first two series, and I thought the third series was also really good. I think it lived up to everything. It lived up to the books, and I was pleased with it. And then the rest of the shows on here are rewatches, so I rewatched Mare of Easttown. I think after Happy Valley, I was in the mood for another gritty drama. If you've not seen Mare of Easttown, it's so good. It's like Broadchurch, but set in America, kind of like that. Highly recommend. Also, Kate Winslet is amazing in that series. Then Young Sheldon, I think season 6 or 7 is airing right now. So I've just been slowly watching that, along with some rewatches. Now, Peep Show, I added on here because I've never seen Peep Show before. I feel like that could probably lose me my citizenship. I've never seen Peep Show, and then for some strange reason one night I randomly put it on, and then I thought the first episode was really funny, so I kept watching, and I've watched a few more episodes, and I'm getting into it. Also, okay, shall I say that? I feel like any British people watching this might definitely lose my citizenship. I've never seen The Inbetweeners either. So that is a show I definitely want to try and watch. So I'll get round to that soon. 8 out of 10 Casters Countdown. It's a panel show and it's very funny. I went through a phase a couple of months ago where I was rewatching some of the older episodes. And then lastly, I've nearly finished, I'm on the last season now. I'm watching Scott and Bailey. It's another police drama. However, so Happy Valley and Mare of Easttown and all the others, they are multiple episodes but with one like overarching storyline. I like Scott and Bailey because it's a different storyline each episode. Like each episode is a different crime and a different set of characters, but also there's some overarching storylines as well, so I recommend that show. And that's it, I think, for shows. If you know of any shows you think I would like, please recommend some. I keep seeing adverts for Yellow Jackets, and I googled it, and that kind of sounds like my kind of thing. I might check that out. Oh god, there was another show I wanted to watch too. What was it? Oh god damn it, I need to keep a list of shows I want to watch. No, it's gone. But yeah, if you know of any shows I'd like, please let me know. Last but not least, I've just made a quick list of podcasts I really like listening to. So, first is You're Dead to Me. It's a history podcast. I just love it. It's so interesting and it's quite funny in places. There's Greg Jenner, the host, and then he's usually joined by a historian and then a comedian, and they have a talk about a different subject every episode. So, for example, the episode that came out today is about the Jacobites, and then I can't remember what last week's episode was on. And then Greg Jenner made a spin-off series called Homeschool History during lockdown. There's not many episodes, I think there's about 12 or something, but they're all pretty short. They're all like 10-15 minutes long. And even though it's made for kids, I just really enjoy them. So if you've got a short car journey or you need something short to listen to, I really recommend Homeschool History. Next is Should I Delete That?, which is a conversational podcast. This between Em Clarkson and Alex Light, who are like Instagram influencers, but they're into, body positivity, feminism, and they're both very funny. And this pod is where they talk to each other and also interview guests. I really enjoy it. I follow both of them on Instagram and I have followed them for years, so I really like their podcast as well. I have some true crime ones. So Mens Rea, which is a really good podcast with an Irish host who has a lovely accent. And then there's Crimepedia, which is hosted by two people. There's an American and a British person. So they mainly focus on cold cases and unsolved cases, but there's a mix of American and British cases and the hosts take turns hosting, which is really good and really interesting. Crimepedia is more conversational, whereas Mens Rea, because it's just the one woman who hosts, she's very factual and down to the point. It's almost like she reads off a script. In fact, she probably does read a script. So if you're like me and you're a bit impatient, I'd check out Mens Rea. Next is History Extra. It's a podcast based off a magazine, or the magazine's based off the podcast, I don't know. But it's a very, very good podcast, and they've got so many episodes on so many different historical things. If you do a search, there's a fair chance they've done an episode on whatever you're searching for. At least in terms of British history, I'm not sure about. I mean, they've obviously done other parts of history as well, but yeah, there's just loads of episodes. Next is National Park After Dark. I discovered this one last year, and I love it. It's about national parks, mainly USA, although they've done episodes set in parks outside the USA, and it's about anything dark or weird about them. So it might be like a murder that's happened, it might be a survival story, it might be an animal attack, or it might be something historical. So there was a really good episode a few months ago on a farmhouse that was converted into a hospital for the Battle of Gettysburg, I want to say. That was a really good episode and an interesting one as well. Anyway, you get the point. It's good. No Such Thing as a Fish is another factual one. It's hosted by 4 people and they're all really funny. They are the writers behind QI, the TV show, and they talk about random facts that they found out. And the good thing about No Such Thing as a Fish is there's also so many episodes. I think there's nearly 500 episodes, so you've got plenty to get through. Next is Office Ladies. I love the US Office, the American one, and I enjoy this podcast. They go through every episode and talk about it from a behind the scenes point of view. The sad thing is though, and I don't know how popular or unpopular an opinion this is, but I'm not a huge fan of The Office once Steve leaves, once Michael leaves. And right now, I think the last Office Ladies episode, as of right now, it was a Will Ferrell episode. And I just think The Office goes a bit downhill. I have seen it. I've seen it right to the end. But I just lose a lot of interest after Michael leaves. So I don't know if I'll be listening to any of the newer episodes of Office Ladies. Maybe, maybe not. But there's a lot of older ones I haven't listened to yet. I'm slightly making my way through them. So yeah. Next is Case File, which is a really popular true crime. If you're into true crime podcasts, I'll be surprised if you don't know Case File. It's very factual, but the episodes are also quite long. They're a proper deep dive into a crime that happened. Yeah, and then the last one, Evolution of Horror. I only discovered this day before yesterday, and oh my god, it is definitely my new favourite podcast. It's hosted by a person whose name I've forgotten, and they discuss horror films for different genres. So he has a series for different genres of horror. So, for example, he has a series of slasher horror films, then a series of ghost horror films, then folk horror, etc., etc. And I really enjoy listening to people talking about specific films. So, for example, this morning, I listened to the episode where they were talking about Midsommar, and they were talking, the episodes are they're over an hour and a half long, and they talk about the film and the different things that happen, and it's almost like being part of a conversation. And that's what made me want to rewatch Midsommar. Wish I did. I also listened to the episode on The Conjuring, however, by that point it was about 11 p.m. And yeah, I thought I'll save The Conjuring for tomorrow. Anyway, the point is, Evolution of Horror is amazing. If you're into horror films and you like listening to people discuss those horror films, then 100% you need to check this out. And I have the same request of you. If you think there's any podcasts you think I'd like, then please let me know. I'm always on the lookout for more. I'm going to leave it there, but thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Ta-ta.